superheroes. I'm Pink Phoenix, coming to you from Purdue University College of Veterinary Medicine's League of Vetahumans. Today, our special guest on Vetahumans Live is Meow Meow. Thanks for being on the show, Meow Meow.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
To get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, went to college and vet school, and what you're doing now?
Sure. Well, let's see. So I was born in Flushing, Queens, New York, but then we moved to South Florida when I was around 2. And then when I was 11, my mom moved us, my brother and me and her, to Irving, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. So I kind of grew up in South Florida and Irving, Texas. So sorry, that's kind of a long answer to where I grew up. But then I went to college also in Texas, University of North Texas, which is just north of Dallas. And then I went to vet school at Ross University, which is in St. Kitts in the West Indies. But quite honestly, there's been a lot of school in between college and vet school as well. I've been kind of a perpetual student, just going along life and learning. So I also, studied psychology and art in New York, and I got a master's in ecology, and then I also got a PhD in veterinary clinical sciences. So anyway, what am I doing now? I am an assistant professor of animal welfare and behavior at Long Island University College of Veterinary Medicine, which is a relatively new vet school. So I teach vet students about animal welfare and behavior, and I teach a couple of other courses too, and I do some clinical research as well. So that's research kind of in a clinical setting. So with animals and for animals, like observing behaviors and seeing how treatments are working for animals. So that's what I do.
I love your journey. You've lived in so many places. You've experienced so many different options for careers. Could you tell us a little more about that journey and why you changed paths?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not sure I planned. Actually, I know I did not plan for my journey to take so many different twists and turns. Um, I always wanted to be a veterinarian, as a kid, as long as I can remember, probably. I always loved animals, and I got really good grades, and I was your, model student. I had a Chinese New Yorker mother who, just as the kind of model minority myth goes, she instilled a very phenomenal work ethic and study habits within myself and my brother. And so, we always really liked school, couldn't fail at anything. But along the way, I had some challenges, had some mental and emotional challenges. I was pretty pathologically shy. Like, I wouldn't ever say anything in classes. I would barely talk to anyone that I didn't know really well. Anyhow, so those kind of things and other interests kind of derailed me a bit. So I didn't even consider going to vet school while I was in college. So I pursued psychology and actually art instead. But then I finally decided to go to vet school later in life, after, doing a few other things, dabbling in psychology, dabbling in art, dabbling in conservation and ecology, which all of those things I love. But I decided to finally pursue what I always wanted to do, which is go to vet school later in life after my dog passed away. She was my best friend of 14 years, dog named Taina. I had adopted her in New York, actually, when I lived in New York for a bit as an adult. That having her and not knowing exactly what led to her demise, that just kind of propelled me into finally going into vet school.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. After you decided to return to a career path of being a veterinarian, did you end up being the kind of veterinarian you had dreamed of being?
Okay, so, well, when I was a kid, we were kind of a family that had dogs. We were a dog family. And so I guess I imagined that I would be, a small animal general practitioner treating dogs and cats. But when I was an adult and I decided to go back to vet school after my dog Taina passed away, um, our veterinarian at the time, or my veterinarian at the time, who was taking care of Taina, he was wonderful, and he was very science minded, but he didn't know exactly, why. Well, she became paralyzed in her back legs, and he couldn't definitively say what the cause was. Anyway, that kind of made me realize, I wanted to know why, why did these things happen? And I realized, well, I have to go to vet school to figure out, why. I wasn't sure if I could do vet school, but I asked some family members and they were very encouraging. But anyhow, Taina was an adopted dog, and I really liked the animal shelters. And so I decided I was going to go back to school to become a shelter vet, just to care for animals without homes, because Taina was an adopted dog, and I adopted her in New York in the 90s, and she had suffered some sort of trauma and had a broken leg and was one of those kind of difficult to place dogs. And so I really wanted to be a shelter vet. So the vet that I am today is certainly not the shelter vet that I intended to be, but that was kind of twisting and turning path to get to where I am today as well. I still very much like the shelter field, and but when I became a vet and I was doing shelter medicine and surgery internship at Colorado State Universities, I switched gears. First of all, I thought I'd make a terrible shelter vet because I always kind of became obsessed with the individual animal, and I couldn't focus on the population. And so I would be so focused on like this one cat that wasn't doing great. And so it took me really long to do everything else. And so anyway, I also felt that I really kind of wanted to make a difference in vet med from a top-down approach. And I really thought that the shelter field kind of really had it together. They have great guidelines, dedicated people, just really had it together. And I really wanted to make a difference, change the world. And I've been really idealistic. And that's kind of when I learned about the American College of Animal Welfare. And I realized that was my calling, just because there were so many other animals, chickens, rats, rabbits, pigs, that I felt needed help from a veterinarian welfare perspective. And so that's kind of how I ended up where I am today. And it wasn't quite what I expected. I mean, I wasn't quite the path that I expected, but it's I think what I was meant to do.
That's a great story. I think we rarely follow the path that we expected to follow.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think we always end up where we're meant to be.
Yep.
So on that note, what did you think being a veterinarian would be like when you were a kid, and what's it really like?
Since I'm not in practice at the moment, like I'm not in a clinical practice, I think I'm a bit different than what anyone would consider being a veterinarian is like. I always assumed that I'd be like in small animal practice. And, the other thing is that, as I mentioned, we were like a dog family, and we never even had any cats, a mom with allergies. So never in a million years would I have guessed that I actually really like cats, and really was going toward feline medicine and working primarily with cats. And the last clinical job that I was at before I moved to New York for my faculty position, I think that was in what I would consider what my dream being a vet would be like, working in a kind of a nonprofit shelter-oriented practice, getting to spend time with clients who were needy. That was kind of what I would have expected being clinical vet. But me being a teacher and teaching vet students, that's certainly not what I would have imagined. But I don't know. That's a great thing about vet med. There are just so many opportunities and to do so many things, career paths, and so yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I love your story, because I think most people think we're the family doctor for pets, dogs and cats, and there's so many different careers in veterinary medicine.
Yes, yes.
So I do want to take a little break here. You've said you're a dog family, and I know that you have a partner helping you with this podcast in the background. And your superhero name is MIAO-MIAO. So tell me how the cats came in.
Yeah. Well, I was very much shelter vet oriented throughout while I was trying to get into vet school. While I was, doing all my prerequisites to get into vet school, I was shelter oriented, and then all through vet school and even after vet school. And cats, of course, are a big part in shelters. And then my faculty advisor at Colorado State, he did a lot of feline infectious disease work, and he made me a cat lover and a crazy cat lady. And then I was all about the cats. And yes, now our cats certainly outnumber our dogs in our household. And if I were ever going to go back into clinical practice, instead of being a faculty member, I would absolutely want to go into doing a feline only nonprofit work.
All right, I have another follow-up, because I also hear you love chickens. So yes. Tell us why chickens are so awesome, because I think they're awesome too.
Chickens are awesome. The funny thing, not funny, I guess if ever an animal is presented to me that I don't know much about, I end up, falling in love with the animal, because, who wouldn't? Anyway, but yeah, so chickens. So I think chickens are one of the most misunderstood animals. They're actually smart, and they're funny and adorable, and they're sensitive and curious, and they just kind of get a bad rap. And it's not fair. We have some backyard type chickens at school. They're kind of, they have their coop and they have like free range time. And so I was tasked by one of the other faculty members last year with, these chickens need some enrichment. Can you go out there and do something about it? And I said, you bet. And so I just would go out there on my free time every day and just sat there in the coop with them. And we all got to know each other, the chickens and me. And, so now, we're buddies. They all know me, and, some of them know their names. They all have names, of course. Some of them come to their names, they all greet me and jump on my lap, and they're just awesome little guys. I mean, they're really no different than someone's dog or cat. I mean, the potty training thing would be a problem in terms of being a house pet. But other than that, they're just so cute. And I wish everybody had a chance to have pet chickens.
They're wonderful. When I first started with the community outreach, we got chickens into the classrooms. We put incubators into the classrooms and hatched chickens and talked about poultry care with the kids, and they got to raise the chicks. And of course, we always had extra eggs, so I would have them at my house as well. And they would go out to farms to be laying hens. But yeah, they all had such different personalities. They're so adorable.
Yeah, they're very cute.
So I know there's probably lots of great days, but could you tell us about your best day ever as a vet so far?
Goodness. Well, I don't know if there's one single best day. I mean, I feel like there are many good days. Of course, there are some bad days, but I mean, I mean, as a vet, if say one of your cat's blood work, shows that they're not diabetic anymore. If like a dog, they're in remission from some cancer they have. I mean, those are great days, and always. I think what really got to me was, or what I loved was, seeing the person's just face and thankfulness as they took their companions home. Those were great days. And I'm sorry, I'm not like quite answering the single best day, um, but oh, every day we go, I must admit, every day we go out to one of the schools for a vet of humans lesson. Those are the best days ever too. Those
I
are
think
super
so.
fun. Um, actually, something that happened really recently, and I'd say it's, as a vet, this happened because this was something that happened with some of the students that I teach. And it's this is a day that stands out in my mind that I really was literally shouting and screaming for joy. I coached a small team of our vet students for this National Animal Welfare Assessment Contest.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the contest, this year and last year, was over Zoom. And the day before the competition ended, this is not a good thing, but I heard that one of my mentors, a philosopher and bioethicist, and one of the people who I admire tons, Dr. Bernie Rollin, passed away, and I was devastated. And I told a couple of the students, who have had me for their teacher, and we've talked about his work. I said, go and win for Bernie. Talk about telos, which is a word that he's coined, meaning like an animal's essence. The pigness of a pig, the dogness of a dog. And I was like, win for him, win for Bernie. And lo and behold, our LIU veterinary students won first place in the competition. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just screamed and cried tears of joys, and just like, they won for Bernie. They were animal welfare champions.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Congratulations.
it's a great day.
So, talking about animal welfare, I hear you're exploring what chronic stress looks like in animals. Can you tell us more about that?
Um, yeah, and I think I think it's my life coming full circle. I feel like it's partly my psychology background intersecting with my veterinary career. Because I was always interested in psychology about the seriously mentally ill people. Anyway, so cortisol is a hormone that our body produces. It's used for many different functions in the body. But one of the main functions is that it's released during a stress response, when a human or an animal is stressed. And so if someone, animal or human, is chronically stressed, or they have stress building up for a long time, or maybe if they have like a lot of stressful events, like small stressful events happen to them, the cortisol might be building up. Anyhow, so if there's too much cortisol, the other systems in the body, sometimes they shut down. And of course, that might be really damaging. So not only for the, animal's mind and emotions, or the humans, but also the body. Anyhow, so I'm trying to look into ways to measure chronic stress kind of objectively, and human psychology researchers, they are physiologists, they're looking into that too. And so cortisol is actually a hormone it's found in the blood, in saliva, and also urine, feces. And then it's actually accumulated in hair and nails as well. And so I'm kind of looking at some of the different places that it can be found in animals as well. So their fur and their claws. And so, I'm pretty excited about some of the things we're finding.
I love this. I love how you're bridging human and animal medicine, and you're that perfect example of translational medicine, how veterinarians are impacting both animal and human health. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yep. Yep.
So on the note of stress, since you're a stress expert, how do you manage your own stress? Do you take your own advice?
Yeah, the irony is, oh no, um, let's see, how do I manage my stress? I think the best way is to get away from the source of stress. um, and, as easier said than done. So, I love spending time with the chickens. Um, the chickens always make me smile. They really do. Um, and of course my own pets. I talk to my cats, and they help. And taking our dogs for a walk. So I have two large, rambunctious, always insanely happy, kind of Staffordshire pit bull mixes, and they don't allow sadness at all. Um, so that's always good. And I like listening to music while I do some of these other things. And podcasts, the right podcasts, are always very good.
Like Betty Humans Live, of course.
Absolutely. It always makes you feel good. I also really like, dance, exercising.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty good stress reduction portfolio. I'm impressed.
Yes, yes. Oh, in the summertime, the beach. I gotta say, I like being in New York where the beach is.
Oh, yes, definitely. All right, it's superhero question time. Can you tell us how you decided on your superhero name?
Well, yes, I wanted you to ask me that. um, so, my ethnicity and background are quite a mixture. So, I'm about, I don't know, a quarter Spanish or Cuban, Spanish mostly, a quarter Lebanese, and about a third Chinese from southern China. And although I don't really know much of anything about my Chinese ancestry, the Miao are the MIAO. They're a group of an ethnic group of people, an ethnic group from southern China and Southeast Asia. And so, although I'm certainly not claiming to be of Miao ethnicity or ancestry, I felt that it was the perfect superhero name for me because, of course, it's also a play on how the meow of a cat's voice is, and sometimes spelled, what it sounds like. And so, since I'm very much a crazy cat vet lady, meow meow seemed the perfect blend of my southern Chinese ancestry and my cat fanatic nature.
I love this. I think that's the best story yet. That's perfect. All right. What are Meow Meow's superpowers, and how are you using them to support and inspire others through the league?
um, well, I wish that somebody would tell me what my superpowers are. Well, let's see. I'd say, how humans and the metagenes come about. I'd say that I've had some struggles in life and some mental or emotional setbacks that really threw me for a loop and derailed me. But I certainly have a multicultural heritage that's made me the quote unquote other in many situations and environments growing up. But so I think that any challenge I faced has truly made me want to fight harder and have the strength to make a difference and change the world, as idealistic as that is. Um, and so my true calling of changing the world for the animals that can't speak for themselves and making it a better place for them, since we're veterinarians, that's our job. Um, anyhow, I think that I use any of my faults, flaws, idiosyncrasies, of which there are a lot, I'm a little bit odd. I use these and I consider those my superpowers, as strange as that is. And my idealism, just to try to show others that you can succeed despite the odds. Not everyone has all the privileges or all the gifts or has an easy time. But if you want something and you really, really want it, and if you work really, really hard and are committed, like there's nothing else in this world, you can achieve it. I mean, within reason, of course. I'm not going to be a billionaire. So not that I want to be a billionaire, but anyway, just the point being, so my superpowers are that I'm just a normal person with lots of idiosyncrasies. I've never been the best. I'm never the smartest or the strongest, or certainly not the most beautiful or the most eloquent. But despite all of that, I've succeeded, if I do say so myself. And so I just, that's how I like to inspire others. That's the impossible dream, the kind of Don Quixote, the kind of my mantras that I like to live by.
I love it. That was beautiful. So before we sign off, do you have any inspirational messages for aspiring veterinarians?
Well, yeah. And so maybe this is more of my weird quirkiness. But so I like to try to inspire at least vet students, and I think this applies to, aspiring veterinarians and kids as well. So anyway, at the end of every class I teach for the vet students, I always end with a mantra of the day or week. And it's usually a quote, by somebody famous. And, who knows if everybody's paying attention. But anyway, but I like to make sure that at least some of them hear the good quote. Anyway, so there's one mantra that I tell them that I'll always remember. And I think it applies to everyone. And it's what another vet told me one day when I was in vet school. And he was the chair of the large animal department. He was an older guy. And he said it to me when I was asking him if I could adopt the sheep that I was working with all semester. Patty was the sheep's name. And I told him that Patty and I were bonded, and then can I adopt him? Can I find some place for him to go? But he did, he was very, very nice guy. I mean, he was a wonderful veterinarian. And he allowed me to go and visit Patty every day. And anyhow, mind you, this was the chair of our large animal department. And he looked at me very sincerely and said, and I'll never forget it. He just said, Elena, don't ever lose your empathy. It will make you a better and a great vet one day. And I'll always remember that. And I tell that to the vet students. Don't ever lose your empathy, no matter how much you might think that closing yourself off will make things, easier, matter less. Things, sometimes vet med is, there are painful things. It's hard. But I don't think not being empathic helps. I think caring will help. If you care, then I think you can make a difference through caring and empathy, and for everybody, and especially those that don't have everything that you do. If you care for them and you're empathic, truly empathic, I think it makes you a better person, and it will make one a better vet. And I think overall it'll make the world a better place.
Absolutely. What a beautiful message, and certainly supports the vision of the league, where we all care about the animals and each other so that we can have a better world.
Yes. The league is, I love the league.
Thank you for that inspirational message, and thanks so much for being on the show. Meow, meow.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and thank you for letting me be a superhero vet of humans and join the league, because it's great.
You can learn about other League of Metahumans superheroes at metahumans.org. If you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share it with your friends. And remember, use your powers for good.